Okay, so we're live. So the thing is like this. The thing is like this. We're going to do something very new. This is a historic moment, right? So right now, it's like in the evening here in Jerusalem. I think it's like close to 8, 9 o'clock. And so this this business model that I'm going to talk about is a new idea, right? For a couple reasons, right? So in this business model is the first of its type. It's the first time we were ever going to see a model like this, and it's the beginning of many models like this. So there's two ideas that you have to take into account to understand why the model itself is bigger than even what it like. The model itself is what is going to be duplicated, right? Not necessarily the how my particular model expresses itself. So we're seeing like a new era of new types of businesses, right? Where basically, like, I used to work for Warner Brothers, years ago, and I basically have like my own division there, right? And my whole thing was like with different music artists creating different creative strategies to monetize and different ways and this type of thing. And a lot of it was in dance culture, the jerky movement, all that type of stuff. But the thing is like this: when Napster came out, businesses went from, or at least say music. I'm using music as an example just for all industry, right? It went from having storage houses, shipping, plastics, covers, this, the whole thing, all that aspect of the music industry, or that industry of production of tape recordings, records, CDs, all this type of stuff that existed, that was like gone, right? And now the music started to become digitized, where it could be exchanged through Wi-Fi, right, through the internet highway, right. And this is before social media and these types of things, when I'm using these terms. And so that was the beginning of a new way of how music was going to be experienced by people, all the way to the point where cell phones later came, and it now took everything to this new level, and now people have millions of songs at their access of a finger, right? And storages and warehouses don't exist anymore because of this, right? And so when you look at the progression of that world of technology coming and downsizing experiences, right? You have to look at the individual too, right? You got to look at the individual, meaning that the individual, right? The individual is also in the frame of a business, right? Because what do we do? Like, we go to school, we become educated, we take that information, and then we go to the marketplace and we see, if there's a person who's willing to acquire our services for whatever the trade is, right? But now we're seeing something different. We're seeing now the end user is now the producer, right? The person who's just only there for consumption is now has ability to participate in production, right? People can create things, people can write blogs, people can um, upload pictures. These things didn't exist before, right? I mean, we take it for granted now, right? But these things did not exist before, and now we're producers now because of technology on two fronts, right? One, you have robotic technology that's now removing the need for human labor, right? And then you have another concept, which is this dynamic of uniqueness, right? Because anything about repetition can be done by machines, right? So what now the human being is like, their value in the marketplace is uniqueness, right? So now we're seeing the art marketplace change. It's not about my resume anymore, because my resume is connected to labor, right? And so now labor is now not a focal point, right? But labor, because now machines can do labor, right? And at best, if you want to use humans, you could do it across the world, right? Because of social technology. They could do a lot of the labor, manual labor. They got machines doing it now. They have machines literally building, buildings, right? Laying, plaster, laying, bricks, cement, the whole thing, right? Police officers, all this type of stuff is happening. So now it's not about repetition. It's not about who could best fit into the collective, right? Now it's about uniqueness, something unique that I could bring to the marketplace that technology can respond to, right? The human innovation, right? So with that being said, the business model that I'm proposing is a business model where the individual now becomes, say, Warner Brothers, right? So Warner Brothers, for example, has Warner Brothers Music, Warner Brothers Film, Warner Brothers Publishing, Warner Brothers advertisement, everything, the whole thing, Warner Brothers technological platforms, the whole thing, right? And so in many cases, they can take an artist or a particular brand or product and filter it through television stations and movie theaters and radio stations and billboards and magazines and books and all this type of stuff. They could filter these things in and create, reality in a lot of ways, right? And so now the individual has that ability to create like Warner Brothers, right? Like one of the things like I'm popular about is the creation of the jerky movement, right? Which was the largest viral video movement in human history to this day, right? Which is basically kids from around the world that were into wearing skinny jeans and dancing and being creative and being against gang culture and positivity. And so I met a group and basically took that and created it into a brand and it became international. We did shows and movies and merch, all types of stuff, tours, the whole thing, right? But the point is saying that what made that work was the fact that it was many different entities that had their own identity that were all contributing as a collective, right? And they were all, instead of all those people were all consumers before, right? All those kids were all consumers before, but because of technology, they became producers. And not only did they become producers, they found a way to create this kind of like homogeneous community where they're exchanging products and services online, right? Now, because it's a trend, it was hard to sustain itself for a guy like me who's on the business side, right? Because the kids are on to the next thing. Kids are getting older. They don't want to do that anymore. You know what I mean? Now there's a new generation of kids and they got a whole nother set of people. You know what I mean? So it's that type of thing. But the point is to say that that marketplace of end users becoming producers, right? And there being many of them and millions of them in essence, right? And creating, they're kind of like on like sub economy. Like music artists will launch from this. YG was launched from this. Todd Dialsign, DJ Mustard, the New Boys, Cali Swag District. All these people are platinum people. They sold millions of copies on a mainstream level. They all came from this movement I'm talking about, right? Some of them I worked more closely with than others, right? But the point is saying that understanding of a new marketplace, of a new way of communicating, a new way of, expressing, right, oneself on earth, right? And so in essence, my business model, right, what I'm proposing, right, is that, but in a different way, right? So before we go forward, right, because we're going to go into the nitty gritty of the business model, but we have to bring it, we got to connect it to the heavens because this is all for Hashem, right? All this whole effort's for Hashem. It's not like let's get rich quick or let's get rich period. It's like, oh, yeah, you can make a lot of money. I mean, it's great. It's just a chance to do more mitzvahs, right? You get a chance to get more tzedakah, which is huge, right? Tzedakah can save your life, right? So anyways, Bekitzer, okay, so let's start like this. So this is two fundamental points that we have to take into account in order to understand the significance and the gravity of this business model. Okay, so it's like this. So there's two concepts in society right now that best. well, when I say two concepts inside, there's two concepts that exist that I want to express that creates you the format to understand how this business model, what we're doing, is going in a completely different direction. We're addressing things that no other business strategist is even conceiving, right? So number one point is like this. Rabbi Nachman, right, of Breslov, he writes that in the end of days, there's not going to be any businesses. Businesses, corporations are going to be done. They're over with. They're done in the end of days. So it's like, what? What a statement. Everything Fortune 500, Fortune 100, top 50 companies, top 10 companies. You're saying all those companies are going to be gone? The whole power base of finance is just not going to even matter? What are you saying, Rabbi Nachman? So Rabbi Nachman teaches that business is based off of two different desires, right? A buyer and a seller, right? Two different desires, a buyer and a seller, right? And so a buyer and a seller represent two different desires, right? So you like say you have the sun as a desire to share, and you have the moon as a desire to receive, right? You have like you have the water coming from the sky is a frame of sharing, and then the earth is a frame of receiving. You have these two dualities, right? But he's saying it in a frame of business, a seller and a buyer. He said, but towards the end of days, there's not going to be different desires. Everyone's going to be so connected and so elevated to the light source of Hashem, because the person who has a desire to sell thinks he can connect to the light of the creator through the selling. The person who buys believes he could connect to the light of the creator through buying. But during the end of days, that concept of duality of reality, of identity, is not going to exist, because everyone's going to share the same desire. This is Rabbi Nachman, and I hold by this as well. So if we want to understand, so when Rabbi Nachman says this, when Rabbi Nachman says like this, right? What he's saying is that this is a cosmic code. He's not talking about business like he's giving his opinion. No, he's saying this is a code. The code is that as we get closer to the end of time, the total revealment of Mashiach, when we get into closer to that reality, right? As we get closer to that reality, what we're saying is that the desires of human beings are going to become closer and closer and closer in the frame of one. Okay? That's what he's saying right now. And he's using the frame of how to understand that concept through business. So this is the future. You want to know where the marketplace is going? That's where it's going. That's where it's going. It's going the fact that society is going to have one and more and more and more the same desire. What do you think social media is? What do you think AI technology is? What do you think the monetization of labor is? It's the pushing us forward of being unified and connected through the mind, through the intellect, through consciousness, right? So this is the future of business. You already know it now. It's done. You could deny it, this, whatever. You don't want to believe it. Okay, fine. It's your choice. Bottom line is the sages have already outlined the future of all business, right? Okay, and in the future of all business is no business. Why is it no business? Because everyone's going to be connected. Everyone's going to want the same desire. So that's the future of business, right? So that's normal. So if anyone has a business model, they want to be in line with the sages. They want to be in line with the cosmic universe is going, right? Because that's how you manifest. That's how you manifest, is when you are connected to where the universe is going. Not the creative. It's like, even when you look at music artists, right? The great music artists, if you look at it, after they establish themselves as a brand, what do they do most of the time? The people who survive, they attach themselves to different sounds, right? Whatever the sound is, reggaeton, Southern beats, Midwest, East Coast, West Coast, what was the thing? Afro beats, and they just attach their brand to it. Country, Western, right? Shout outs to Beyonce, right? And so the point is just saying that idea, right? That idea of the future reality, right? The future reality is being able to bring those two dots together, right? Bringing the dot of myself in where the universe is going, right? In that connection, right? This is how you win. Not when I want to do things my way, right? You have a musician, oh, I just want to do my type of music. I don't care what the new sound is. What? They're not going to be around. You have to go forward, right? You have to go forward, right? You have to go forward, right? And so that's the big concept, right? Is humbling ourselves to understand that the universe is going in a direction, right? And we could resist it all we want and have ego and convince ourselves it's like, no, you could be a part of that, or you just be a part of the people that came along and were forgotten about, so and so, right? Or you could live forever, right? So this is the future of business. So that's one issue. So we already know where the future of business is. So any business model has to be going in a direction of unifying things, right? You have to be unifying. Your business model has to unify, right? Because if when uniformity or collectivity happens, that's when a particular blessing can be manifest, right? Because the blessing is what pushes things forward, right? It's the light force of the creator that pushes society, push everything forward. So the things that have the vessel are going to be the ones that are carrying that light forward. So the people whose businesses are going to have light are going to create unity. Look at Elon Musk. I mean, I'm not talking about him as a person. I don't know his personal life, but at the end of the day, he's unifying heaven and earth. He's unifying space and say, oh, he's going to be the first trillionaire, right? So we're good. We're past that. We're past that, right? We're in the era of Mashiach, right? We're building business models for Mashiach. So the basis of the business model that I'm sharing with you right now, right, is a business model that's based, and it doesn't even have a name yet. There's no name of the company. It's just a pure vessel. And so I'm putting this out because I want you to hear and connect to this vision, right? Because this vision is the future, right? And we could be a part of it, right? This is where the future of reality is going. We're giving it to you. I'm giving it to you. Guy from LA. Okay. So here's Midrash Rabbah, right? In it's in Bereshit, and it's connected to Abraham, right? Because Abraham is a super soul, right? He's a super soul. He is the perfection. He is the perfection of Adam Rishon before the Chet, right? He's in that frame of perfection. Now, obviously not at that level, right? But he is in the frame of that perfection, and in many ways even higher, right? In many ways, because of the Chet, and because he passed all of his tests, you could even argue that. So Abraham is like the superhuman being. So here, so the Midrashim, they're talking about the idea of the neshama. So the thing is like this: society that we live in today rejects the concept that we have a soul, right? We never hear about it. We never hear about a soul. Where you hear about a soul at? Where you hear that? We don't. We don't hear about the soul. They ignore it. It doesn't exist, and they create systems and ideas and concepts. How are you? How are you going to create a system about my body and only acknowledge the left side of it? Right? You wrote books about biology, you wrote books about physics, all this, but all these sciences, all this, and you don't take in the soul in account. You act like, oh well, because we can't quantify it, we can't. But you create all these other systems. So why do you choose not to accept the soul? Because if you create a society that doesn't understand that they have a soul or even focuses on it, you're going to create a society that's always going to be empty, is always going to be lacking, right? Because they're only focused on one part of themselves, their bodies, their external selves, their external rest, their external pleasure. They live for pleasure because of this reason, pleasure of the body. Because like something like fasting is like pleasure for the soul. But the body's like, oh my God, I'm feeling miserable, I'm exhausted, right? So because of that, we live in a society full of ideas and concepts and directions that will not bring us to the destination, which is Mashiach. That's the only thing that we should be concerned about. How do we get to the destination of Mashiach? How do we create that reality? That's the only thing that matters. And the tools that we're given in society are not going to get us there, right? So what we're saying is that in the way that society doesn't acknowledge that we have a soul, the Torah illuminates it. The sages go in, they go. So here's Midrash Rabbah. So it says, Chamishi Shemod Nikara'u. He says that there's five, like basically there's five levels of the soul, and they're called Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yakida, right? So these are the Nefesh, Ruach, Chaya, and Yakida. So I'm not going to go into how the soul and why all these different parts need it. What do they do? But I want you to see it inside the text. I want you to see it inside the text that we all have souls. And we have souls and it's broken into different parts, right? And the Torah says God blew a ruach inside the nostrils of Adam, right? Where do we see ruach? Right here, right next to nefesh. Nefesh, ruach, nashama, right? They're singing nashama, ruach. Wait, no. Sorry. Nefesh, ruach, nashama, yechida, hay, yay. Nefesh, ruach, nashama, yechida, hay, yay. Okay. So we just connected. So the point is like this. So that's the idea. So we have a soul. No one talks about it, right? So this is the framework that we got to go on explore on, right? Because now we're going to go to the next level, right? We're going to go to Facebook. Why? Because I wrote something about what we're going to talk about, right? And it's really important, right? And you can see it. It's here, right here. This is life. I'm writing about this. I'm living this. I'm teaching this. We're growing this. Okay, so we got to go through these statistics. Now that we've established a spiritual foundation, right? One point of the spiritual foundation is what? One part of the spiritual foundation is the idea that all businesses that are going to be successful create unity in the world. And any technology that's going to be successful creates unity. If it doesn't create unity at a high level, it's not going to have the light force of God with it, right? That's one point. Second point is we live in a society that does not deny that we have a neshama, which ultimately cripples us as individuals. So this effort that we're going to do here, this business that doesn't even have a name, the company doesn't have a name, it's so pure, right? That this business model is a business model that's based around doing what God wants, right? What God has told us to go out and when I say go out, that God says that part of this great amalgamation of human potential is God's message being on the four corners of the world, in all of His children returning from captivities, from menasha, from forgetting, right? And to be able to take that reality and bring it into a new place, right? And bring society, humanity into a new era, right? An era of no pain and suffering, an era of immortality, no more death in the world, right? This is the idea, right? So this is the business model, and it's built off of those two spiritual premises. Okay, so it says statistics show 26% of African Americans believe they are descendants of the biblical tribe of Israel, right? So this is the thing. They see themselves as being a part of the biblical tribe of Israel. This is a statistic. I think it was the Matthew Institute, or I'm sorry, the Manhattan Institute. Do that. So he says African Americans as collective have over $1.9 trillion in buying power. 26% of that nine. Okay, so African Americans have collectively have $1.9 trillion in buying power every year. Okay. Now, out of that $1.9 trillion that's spent, 26% of those people believe that they're descendants of Israelites. I think you can see where we're going with this, right? So that's close to $500 billion a year, right? Black Americans who believe they are connected. I mean, they have a connection to the biblical tribes of Israel, have over $500 million in buying power every year as for the collective buying power. So this is the thing. So now that we've established that there's $500 billion every single year spent in terms of buying power of African Americans, the question is, what do they spend it on exactly, right? We're not going to go into the whole thing because that's not the point. The point is the business model, right? Now, certain things you can say crossover, whatnot, but the more than likely is in this case is it's not going to be such a crossover. So out of that, 12% of that money, that 500, the 12% of African American spending is on food and 4% on entertainment. Now, out of that $500 billion, right? That 16%, right, is close to $70 billion a year. So right, so there's $70 billion spent every year by African Americans who buy food, right? African Americans who buy food that perceive themselves as descendants of Israelites and entertainment together. I'm bringing them together, right? And so when we look at that, that's $70 billion a year that's being spent on necessities. I mean, like things that they like need. Food. People need to eat, right? And so that concept, right? That concept of that spending is corrected to an identity that the food necessarily doesn't correspond to, neither does the entertainment, right? And so what we're saying is that we're talking about the dynamic of the black community. What we're saying is we want to go toe to toe, one on one, right? And say, hey, you know what? We want to provide entertainment content, and we want to provide food, goods and certain services to African Americans that is reflective of their cultural beliefs. And so it sounds like this. So going off of the basic biblical principles, the vast majority the vast majority of the food and entertainment content being provided to the African American community would be deemed as not kosher or healthy for human consumption. Now is the time to have. Now is the time to start having a conversation about having conversations with various African American groups who are biblically minded. So that this is going into the idea because this is more of like a point of understanding, right? And the point is saying that there's millions, right? 26% of 41 million people, right? And I think it's 19% of non-African Americans agree with this as well. So we're talking about like over 20 million people in the United States have this connection, right? And on a small scale, right? They're spending $70 billion a year in particular directions, right? And 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 so what we're saying now is saying that, well, we have to organize that. We have to organize that marketplace, right? We have to create a brand, right? And we have to put that brand in every single city in America and everywhere in the world where there's Black culture, right? And I believe with the right marketing, we could get that number, that 26% all the way up to like 50, 60%, right? Because it's not, it's not like we're selling, right? And this isn't about bringing people to be Jewish, right? No, we're saying people should have their Israelite, Hebrewic, kosher life, right? A lot of people say it's in the frame of B'nai Noach, right? Like some people say in terms of practices, because it's not like I'm going to people say, oh no, you got to follow the Talmud. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you have a genetic connection to the tribes of Israel through the tribes in the west of Africa. And here's a kosher American way to express that identity that's acceptable by everyone, Jews, Christians, everyone alike, right? Will say, oh, this is very good, right? Not the hate speech that you see and all this other stuff. We're talking about people who are more elevated than it, right? So anyway, so this is the thing, right? So African Americans, they've been through a lot, right? But the key of this basis of this business is very, very much connected to the U.S. Constitution and the forged religious freedom. That's how I'm able to be the person I am today, right? And so and so and so and so the idea. So that's the let's just go off the page. Anyway, that's the that's the idea, right? Is that we want to be able to visualize this existing community, right? Now, this is the thing. Now, this is about unification. This is about Mashiach, right? This is what this is about, right? This is about new reality, right? This is about new reality, and it's about having a business model that's in line with the desires of God, right? And being able to focus that effort there as a basis, because we haven't even talked about all the other elements that could be built out of this, right? We're just on a very focused, pendulum, right? And so, the thing is like this: the company wants to provide kosher content that's culturally relevant to this 26% on a high quality level, and we want to be able to provide food for the people, and eventually even other ideas like healthcare, whatever. But because right now we're talking about food that's kosher, that's connected to the precepts of the Bible, right? A lot of it will be vegan, I'm sure, right? And then also the dynamic of also the dynamic of the content that they're watching at home, right? So the content that they're watching at home and the food that they eat in the house, that's $70 billion being spent from the marketplace that identifies as Israelite. That's what I'm going after. That's who that's who that's who we're going after. We want to go one on one with all those other people who are giving content and food to the 26% of African Americans that define themselves as Israelites. Those people, we want to be able to connect with those people and to be able to provide them those goods and services through holiness. And the thing is, and it's to elevate the conversation, right? It's not about religion. It's about Mashiach. It's about oneness. It's about connection, right? So, so how do we get there, right? How do we get to, this? How do we get to this place where we can we can understand, you know, the long term dynamic? Because see, the thing is like this: a lot of people look at the trajectory of business that I'm in right now, right, or the my brand, and they're like, "Wow, it's all about you," and this whole thing. It's like, no, it's not that it's all about me, as it is about saying that I have to be able to take myself, turn myself into Warner Brothers to be able to capitalize on the opportunities that exist today. So my Warner Brothers and the content that comes out and the publishing and the networks and the content and all that is connected to my experience. So it's my experience is the marketing vehicle, the sales vehicle, the distribution vehicle, the manufacturing vehicle for this experience. What is this experience? The liberation of an African American man from the limitations of the West. My way was through Judaism, right? Now, someone else could do it another way, and people have done it another way, but we're going to turn it into a brand, a real experience. And we're going to connect that experience to other continents, like the east, the southeast region of Nigeria, where most African Americans who are connected to these Israelite tribes come from. Boom, they're part of the story, right? We got people like in here in Israel, in the Dimona community. They're a part of the story. Self-determination. Black people just believing we're connected to this. We're from this. We're coming back. And then you have the 200 years of African Americans in North America that are coming from that, right? And so I'm coming from this place of a guy who grew up, in parents that were born Christian, grew up Christian, got into Islam like many African Americans did, in the 80s, right? Late 70s, 80s, right? And I was born after that, right? And and I grew up in that, right? But I had a very unique upbringing, right? That gave me a series of experiences that allowed me to become the person that I am today, right? And growing up, becoming, Jewish, studying at places like the Kabbalah Center with tons of celebrities, coming to Eretz Israel, converting in Los Angeles, right? Running for all this stuff. So the point is saying it's not about resume, right? what it's about is saying that no, this is the content that's there. So that 26% of African Americans, they represent me. I am the brand for them. I am the person that they can trust because I have an invested interest in their success, not about making a dollar, right? Now we have to make money because we can't be dependent on donations, right? That's where most people get corrupted and this and people lose control. No, this is a privately owned corporation, right? But the corporation itself provides this content. What's the experience of this company is through the lenses of Rabbi Mordechai, right? Me, the person you're talking to, not out of ego, because the business model is the expression of the individual's uniqueness. The business model is an expression of the potential, the dimensions, all the things that we have inside of us, right? And so that idea is expressing godliness, right? And we want to move society to bringing godliness in, right? And so this whole marketplace, right, of African Americans, whatever, I'm the one who's going to organize my organizers with my brand, with my literature, right? That's all connected to the Masur of the Holy Sages, right? And so this is what I'm looking for support for, right? This is the concept, right? The concept is to be able to say like, no, this is the brand, this is the future, right? And I think I have a picture on here. Hold on. Whoa. Let's see, some old pictures. I have a lot of old pictures on here because I'm doing slide reels for a while. Okay, hold on. Doop, doop, doop. Oh, yeah, the screen's not on one. All right, okay, so we're cool. Right, hold on 1 second. Picture all the way down here. All these celebrity pictures. Okay, so I'm just as I'm getting this closer to this picture, it's like all the way down here. The idea is to okay. I think that's a good one. Hold on 1 second. It's actually another picture I want to show too. Okay, so I want to show you this picture of this brand, right? And so this brand is images, you know, of me, right? And but the thing is like this. This brand is the trusted brand for Black spirituality, right? So it's not just limited to like the Hebrew Israelites or people like them or Black people who feel like they have this connection. No, this is about the entire Black community. I can't believe this thing is not this picture. I've like used it so many times. I probably passed it and didn't even realize it. So I'm like, okay, fair enough. Let's use this. Fair enough. God decides. Okay, so let's look at this. Okay, so this was me in I think it was wow, December 1st last year. Are we in December now? Anyways, so the point is like this. So this is, this is the concept, right? The concept is it's like this is the brand. This is the brand, right? And this is a cover. This is one of the largest publications in all of Canada, right? And this is me in front of the Har HaBayit, and this is me addressing political issues, right? So it's not just spiritual stuff that we could address. This is a whole political component of being able to engage and to share and filter ideas, right? So this is one of them, but this is the level it's at now. I'm doing covers, right? And I'm not this isn't some rapper stuff or anything. It's like it's no, this is it. But here's the brand, right? So here's the brand. This logo is going to be the logo that's everywhere, right? And that logo is going to be a part of all the literature, all the merchandise. It is the brand, even or things like you have a Kiddush cup. This picture will be at the bottom of it. But anyways, so I was joking, maybe. But the point is like this. So this is the idea, right? And so this is where we're at right now, and this is the basis of the business model. So The next stages, right? The next stages of participation, because there's two different levels, right? One level is the next stage, and obviously I think after that would be the stage after that. But the point is like this: on this stage now, we're going to do a documentary about basically my life. And the apex of the story is going to Nigeria and reconnecting to my ancestors, rejoining the Igbo tribe, and becoming a chieftain, one of the chiefs, right? And so that is the apex of the story. But we're going to go through everything. We're going to go through my growing up, whatever. And the idea behind it is not to say, oh, we're producing movies and we're going to make tons of money off of them. No, what we're going to do is we're going to shoot the documentary, and we're going to do it for a great price, right? And and we're going to do it for a great price, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take that story and we're going to put it out, right? Because I'm the most visible guy about information and wisdom, right? I'm not on stage telling people to say boogie woogie woogie, right? No, I'm pushing the thinking process. I wrote the book Mind of the Black Jew, right? So we haven't even talked about the publishing and all these things. So you can see the potential. You can see 24-hour television. You could see movies about, love stories with people who see this way and this, and creating a new identity in America. And it benefits America to have a African American bourgeoisie, which is a whole nother conversation. But the point is like this. So the idea is to say, right, is to say that we want to be able to take this content and we want to be able to just put it out online. I'm not even looking at Netflix right now. I just want to put it out online and have this documentary as an educational tool. Me over in Igbo land with the elders, going through Amunanana, telling the stories, being in the land, dealing with the authenticity, the whole thing, right? So 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 from that standpoint, right? So from that standpoint, that's the content that's now educational, and the audience gets to experience that through me, right? Through this character that everyone as a cousin looks like me. I mean, people are making a joke, but the point is like this, right? So that's the idea on that front, right? And also, I'm going to release a book while I'm there, right? I already did Mind the Black Jew. It sold a lot of copies, like hundreds and hundreds of copies, and it's going to sell thousands and thousands of more, right? And so the point is saying that I have to come out with a handbook on how to implement these traditions into your house, like a how to, right? How if I want to do Shabbat as a person who does not follow the Talmud, but I want to have Shabbat. I want to have a Shabbat dinner. I don't want to do it like in terms of keep keeping Shabbat and all the rules and all that. No, I just want to have a time when me and my family comes in. Boom, that's where this outlook and the Ebo and the connection, all that, right, comes from. Because through, and it's a lot of reasons why, but the point is just saying it's through the traditions of the west of Africa incorporated with B'nai Noach halacha that you can make this information accessible to millions of people, right? And there may be people that want to do full, gerut and that type of thing, but that's not the business model. The business model is to provide this experience for people who identify as descendants of Israelites. And that experience is holy and it's rich and it's positive and it's connected to the bringing of Mashiach and the unity amongst all the nations and the righteous, separating the righteous and the wicked and all these things, right? And so and so that's level A, right? But that's really just a teaser, because all that does is create a mechanism to raise money to bring a curriculum. Actually, I have a curriculum with Rabbi Eliezer Demota, Remy Alona, and having a curriculum to put these schools, to put this information into these schools, right? And put this information about the history of African Americans, right? So now we're saying on the content level, right, that we want to battle education, right? We haven't got to education yet. I just talked to you about entertainment and food, but there's a whole other compartment, which is education, right? And being able to challenge the African American narrative, right? And trusting our ancestry to explain who we are versus academia, right? Which is another world of publishing, right? And it's calling for social justice in all the different parts of the world where African American studies are taught. Like, for example, I have a friend of mine, he's in Budapest, right? He told me 22 universities in Hungary teach African American studies, right? And there's also, a lot of, even here in Israel, right? There's a whole connection, right? So anyway, so with that being said, we want to dominate the education world as it relates to the African American narrative in university, grade schools, K through 12, and we want to dominate the sector of food and entertainment as it relates to people who identify as descendants of Israelites, right? And this is a transformational moment for Black people because we haven't been able to pray in our own voice, in our own culture, right? And it's not to take away from other experiences, right? Christianity was great for the African American community. Islam was great, right? Judaism, great. All these things are great. But the point is saying that in terms of the African American experience, all those things have been foreign in terms of their own selves, right? And so what we're saying is that we're providing a structure. We're providing a structure that allows African Americans to have a spiritual relationship with God that's in their own voice, in their own culture. And within that, the lifestyle that surrounds that, we also want to provide the tools for that as well, right? So anyway, so this is kind of like the end. But if I send it to you, is because I want you to hear this, right? I want you to see that I need to raise money, right? I need to raise money, right? And I don't want to throw out numbers, right? But if I'm gonna, we'll talk, right? I don't want to say numbers, right? But we're talking about trillions of dollars, right? We're talking about over the course of 3 years, trillions of dollars, right? Right, in terms of evaluation, right? Because we're talking about a new era of connecting to the consumer. We're addressing them in a whole different way. We're addressing the soul. I'm dealing with the soul. I'm dealing with the soul. The soul of those 26% people have a different soul than the rest. I'm sorry I had to say it. I have to provide for it. I'm working on a soul level. Anyways, we are talking about business, but we're talking about having independence. So we'll continue on. Baruch atah Adonai.